Accept the power of your own influence. You're a very influential person. I want everyone to listen going, you're very influential. The question is, what are you influencing people to do?
Welcome to the Wealth Strategy Secrets of the Ultra Wealthy podcast, where we help entrepreneurs like you exponentially build wealth through passive income to live a life of freedom and prosperity. Are you tired of paying too much in taxes, gambling your future on the stock market, and want to learn about hidden strategies for making your money work for you? And now your host, Dave Wolcott, serial entrepreneur and author of the best-selling book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode on Wealth Strategy Secrets of the Ultra Wealthy. Today's episode is all about unlocking your full potential, breaking through limitations, and transforming the way you communicate. Not just with others, but with yourself. If you've ever felt stuck in your business, your wealth, or your personal growth, today's conversation will be a game changer. Joining us is Michael Bernoff, a master of human communication, NLP, and high performance. Michael is the founder of the Human Communications Institute and the author of the best-selling book, Average Sucks, a must-read for anyone looking to push past their own limits and achieve more in life. Over the past 2 decades, he's worked with top entrepreneurs, elite athletes, and industry leaders to help them reprogram their mindset, optimize their language, and unlock new levels of success. In this episode, we dive deep into the hidden power of language and how changing just a few words can transform your results. Why most people unknowingly operate within self-imposed limits. The 4 key areas that drive success. How to create lasting habits that actually stick and shift your identity for real growth. And lastly, the real reason most people struggle with money, relationships, and personal growth. Michael doesn't just talk about high performance, he lives it. And today he's here to give you the tools and mindset shifts you need to take control of your life and business. And if you find this episode valuable, please choose one person you can share it with to make a difference for them. And on to the show. Michael, welcome to the show.
Well, Dave, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you on the show, Michael. Your genius has really made a profound impact on my life ever since I've heard your work, and just really grateful to have you here today to really share that wisdom with our audience and really help them get some new insights and really some new ways to think that they might not have been thinking about in the past. So why don't we kick things off with just a bit about your origin story, how you developed your superpower and how you got into this space of neuro-linguistic programming and really, high performance and self-improvement.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I imagine being a kid, like all little kids think they've got a superpower, and then I'm an adult and I'm like, you know what, it worked. I got my superpower, which I truly believe everybody has. So there's a lot of ways to attack the origin story. I would tell you, I could start at the beginning, and I live in Scottsdale, Arizona now. I grew up in New Jersey. Just to give like a geographical explanation, I moved across the world. So I grew up in the 70s, child of the 80s in New Jersey. And I think the biggest way all of this began was I realized there was a duality out there. There was the way that we lived, and I would see these other people. I lived in like middle class USA in little Rockaway, New Jersey, Morris County. And then I'd go to these malls and I'd see these people. They live differently. I'd see people. I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I'd ask my parents who lived with me in this wonderful parents. They lived with me. I'd ask them and they're business owners. They're this, they're that. If you want that one day, work hard, be a good person. I never really got great advice. So my biggest shift in my life happened when randomly, after high school, I was going to go to college because that's the thing that we were told to do, go to college. That's my parents told me to do. And it's kind of funny. I'm Dave. I don't know if you got this. You're this generation, but I'm that ADD generation. Did they push that on you as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was like, we have nothing else to sell these people. The teachers suck. We're just going to tell all the kids they got ADD. So I wound up with like a special little counselor, and my parents paid like $3,000 in 1990s to find me the perfect college that I could go to that would give me extra time, help me learn, do my thing. And they wound up sending me to Arizona. And I didn't realize until 2 years in that she meant to send me to the University of Arizona, and she sent me to Arizona State, which is like the largest party school in the world. And why I tell you that is you want to get a kid that can't pay attention, send him to ASU.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Where the story goes is simple. I didn't do very well for my first couple of years. I wound up going to community college because I was invited to not come back because my grades weren't good and they said, come back after you get good grades. Here was the coolest part. The difference between Arizona State and the community colleges, the community college, I could take business classes, and all of the teachers and professors owned businesses. And I was enthralled. I'm like, this is amazing. One guy owned 3 spaghetti factory type restaurants. Another guy owned carpentry, and they taught us sales and business. And one teacher said, if you want to get ahead in life, you got to read. And you heard the class go, I don't want to read, right? And he goes, I'm going to give you a different list of books. And he offered everything from, he offered like books on like capitalism, Communist Manifesto was on there. And one of those books was How to Win Friends and Influence People. So picture this, Dave, 19-year-old guy, single, influence people, Arizona State, around college. This is great. I can influence people. I'd never understood till that day that you could learn yourself better. I know now it's normal. Now there's the internet, but picture the 90s. I never realized you could get a book and you could get better in influences in something you were born with. So long story short, I get into business, struggle with it for a bit. And that is where I met a guy while I was doing an event. I'm sure a lot of your clients have been there before. You're pitching and you halfway believe in yourself. Business is not doing as good as you need to. And a dude comes up to me at the end and he basically said, have you ever heard of neuro-linguistic programming? And he goes, I've been working for the guy that invented it and a guy named Tony Robbins for doing AV for them for 10, 15 years. And man, you've got a lot of potential. I think you could be great. I ignored him off the bat. And after enough time, he sat me down and he goes, when you learn how to communicate differently, you can have anything you want in this world. And what's crazy was there's a guy that sold pet safety for a living, changed my life, a guy named Tom. And that's the guy that woke me up. And then I wound up meeting Jim Rohn and story goes from there.
Yeah, what an amazing journey. I grew up a similar time frame, actually in Connecticut, so in the tri-state area as well.
That's why I like you.
It's really fascinating, right? Because part of my journey was all around, it was the same thing. We were all taught to go to school, get good grades, you're going to get a job, life would work out. That's kind of the recipe. But meeting folks like yourself, and once you get out into the real world, right, the reality is that, right, it's really breaking free from conventional wisdom and thinking and trying to think different, understand your unique abilities, your superpowers, right, how you can apply those into the world to create value. And that's where you really shine, right? And I know that's been, huge to try to teach, our kids and other generations, but we're kind of like stuck in this system. It's almost like this machine, right, that's holding us back. Even think about the 8-hour work days in offices, in schools, right? 8 hours. I mean, that's from the industrial age. Now it's all about performance-based economy, not time and effort, right? But we have these old paradigms that we're under that really apply to like everything in your life if you can break free from it.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I've learned that there's probably about 4 or 5 things that we need to learn in life, maybe 4 or 5 total, that work for everybody. And there's 9 million things that probably will never work ever. And majority of people are fighting over the 9 million things. And if we could just assimilate what those 4 or 5 real things are, and it's not how much time you put in, it's not these average things that they're telling us. And that's what I want to make certain that your team understands today. Because now, if I fast forward from that, the gap in the middle was 23 years of working with the highest performing human beings on earth, everything from the UFC fighters to top influencers to business owners to folks like yourself, people in the financial world. I get the biggest phone calls in the world, getting people over major issues after the shooting in Columbine. I work with the kids in PTSD. Like, I've seen it all. So why is this kid that didn't do very well in school, that never got past C grades, that had ADD and struggled, why are top financial people asking him to come up with how they communicate? And that was the last 23 years.
Yeah. So let's unpack that, Michael. Let's talk about the 4 things that we need to learn.
Yep. I wish it was 4. I don't know it's 4. I threw a number out there, but I think it's 4. I will tell you.
I love it. If you can put a framework together and I only have to do 4 things.
I'm going to tell you. Well, actually, I will tell you that there's one very simple word that everything comes down to in life. And this is the most important thing of all that everybody needs to understand. And immediately when I say it, people are like, oh, I already do that. You know what I mean? But they don't know what I mean by that. So give it the podcast to understand what I mean by that. One central focus that all of us need to get better at. When I invented something called human interaction technology, that is our version of what people would call NLP back in the day. That is their version of language and psychology that we teach. It's human interaction technology teaches one thing. Check one thing before anything else in life, and that's called your communication. number one place to check in your life before you check anywhere else, before you spend a dollar, before you go to a gym, before you do anything, is check your language first, because it controls every single thing on life, period. And from there, there's three other things that I'll cover in a minute, but that is where it starts. That's where it begins. That is your issues in your relationship with your children, with getting their homework done, with your ADD, with your depression, with your anxiety, with your worry, with your concern, all language related from the get-go. And I can go very deep on that if you'd like, but I will tell you why people make the amount of money they make in this world has more to do with language and communication than anything else.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating topic. And I think the one point that you should emphasize is probably what's coming to people's minds, right, is communication with others. Can I communicate with my spouse better at work and things like that? But you're the NLP expert. I would believe that all the communication actually starts with that conversation in your head, right, that you're having all the time. And Tony talks about it, right? Yep. What is the story that you're telling yourself literally every day?
Yes. And all of us have to understand that the words that we use are a filing system inside of our mind. And whenever we say anything to ourselves, it's crazy. So let's just take a prime example. This doesn't solve everything. It gives you a more solvable problem. And a lot of us have to realize that whether it's a challenge or a problem, the one you currently have is not being solved. Okay, so you have to either look at it different or create a different one. So I'm going to tell you, if you're always going to have challenges, you might as well have solvable ones. So have you ever heard anybody say, man, I just can't stop eating that, man. It just attracts me. I love it. It's just like, I'm obsessed. I need it. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
Okay. So major corporations in the world, they spend a lot of time, like Starbucks, getting you to love Starbucks, getting you to love yogurt. I mean, Ben & Jerry's wants you to love ice cream, right? That is their goal. Second most powerful word in the Bible outside of God is love, period. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, if you don't do Bible, in your relationship, love is going to be the thing we're after. If you have been to any Tony events, I haven't been in 25 years to one, but one of the things I learned years ago is relationships is people's biggest issue, people's problems. When we're at Genius Network, it is always a relationship with our kids, our family, ourselves, period. That's the problem that leads to the challenges. So why I say that is this. A human being that says, I love cheesecake, I love Red Bull, of course they're going to drink it because they're using their oxytocin, which is attached to the word love since we were born, and applying it to a product, which is something else. Imagine that same person said, cheesecake is yummy. Yummy is not going to make you break a rule for it. Yummy may make you take a bite. Love, obsessed, have, necessary. We speak in a way that makes us do certain things. I could take this as deep as we need. And what's fascinating about it is it's like even with working out, most people work out. It's a neural pathway in their brain that means something I do for 2 weeks, then quit. Well, if that's what you think that's going to be different next time, you're a fool. So instead, why don't you change the word and say, you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start training. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start moving my body. I'm going to start respecting myself. Try any other word first. And I say try because you might fail, other than attempt to do the same thing and again, expect a different result.
Yeah, so let's give a relevant example to the listeners out there. We're often talking about basically, wealth and your money mindset, right? And really kind of creating that. So what have you found?
What's a money mindset? Let's talk about that for a minute. It means different things to different people. I'm asking you, Dave, what's a money mindset? That is a
scarcity,
term.
I think a lot of people have scarcity around money, for sure.
Okay, so do you think people have scarcity around it? Or do you think, when you tell someone they have scarcity, those are what I call therapy words. And what they do is they get you hooked to therapy. Words like scarcity, words like authentic, words like abundant. The challenge with the word scarcity is you tell someone they have scarcity, you're just reapplying their scarcity. And I understand why we say it because it gives us context. But instead, the way that we're communicating with ourselves is not getting us what we want. That is very different and it's not as injecting. So do you think people have scarcity or do you think they have an auto program in their life to do what they're currently doing? Because I don't think they have scarcity. I think they're absolutely consistent as all get up. I think they are so consistent that they make $182,000 a year, 9 years straight. They're as consistent as they wish any athlete would be. They're the Kobe Bryant of making 180 grand a year. I think people are consistent. I don't think they have scarcity. I think they're massively consistent at doing what they're doing for a very particular reason most people don't know.
Yeah. Good point. And what is that then?
Well, it's simple. And I'll get back later to those other three things if you remind me.
Yeah. We'll
now we got everybody in an open loop. This is great. Yeah. Okay. So here's what happens in people's lives. I'm going to draw this out so you can see it. And I believe it's going to make sense. How long have you been an entrepreneur?
18, 19, 20 years.
Did you have a job prior?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you worked for someone else. You one day woke up and said, I'm never doing it again, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone has a day in their life when they say never again. We've all done this, correct? So we say to ourselves, what's funny is most of the things we do have nothing to do with what we're doing currently. They have everything to do with what we used to. Now, pay attention to this because what I'm about to share with you will only help you, potentially your children, your friends, your family, not just your business. So it's big. So every one of us has a day where we say to ourselves, we're going to say these words, I don't want. We say it over a toilet bowl. If we drank too much, we say it after food poisoning. We say these words, don't want. And in that moment, immediately we say this, what do I want? We don't think it through, but we say it like, I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to be my own boss. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for anyone else. I want this. I don't want this. I want this and don't want this. In the financial planning world, I want really great returns. I don't want to lose money. Correct? In the wealth management world, it's like, I want the highest commissions. Does that make sense? And I don't want bad clients. And people have wants and don't wants. We created that on a day we weren't thinking. We were pissed off. We were bothered. And we created something. People say in their marriage, they're like, I don't want to be hurt anymore. So what they do is they say, I want them to love me all the time. So they build these models for themselves. They live in the middle and they never actually get what they want. So I don't think people have scarcity. I think they have outdated programming. So let me add to this. Then what happens is we identify as a person that doesn't actually have it, that wants it. So like, well, I really want to make $1 million a year, but I make 360,000. I make $1 million. I want to make 20 million. I got clients that make 100 million that got the same problem. Okay. I got people I work with. So what happens is we build an identity on a regular basis that is obsessed because our unconscious mind is obsessed with getting us what we want. So we're saying, I don't want to feel broke. I don't want to be, I don't want to play small. I want to have my own business. So now we identify as a person with their own business that isn't working for someone else. We didn't really pick the right thing we wanted. We're just better off than where we were. And then this is where it gets crazy. We recruit. We tell stories and we recruit people in our lives. Every one of us has recruited all of the people in our lives, that brother-in-law, that assistant that keeps quitting, that brother-in-law that drives you nuts, you married into the relationship, that house you live in where near the pizzeria so you can overeat, whatever it is. We've got just the right people in our lives. It says people, my bad handwriting, identity, who we are, what we want and don't want, and we live in the middle. So what happens is most people identify as a person that makes $180,000 a year. My daughter's in figure skating. They identify as someone that can't do a certain jump. Some NBA players, they identify as second line players. They want to be on the first line. They don't want to not be in the NBA. And they bitch and complain to the people in their lives about the thing they want. And they have enough cheerleaders and people to support them to actually facilitate the life they have. So here's the crazy part. People don't have scarcity. They've designed what they have themselves, and they have to realize how creative they were. They're not where they used to be, but they're going to need a different plan to get to where they want to go. And what's nuts is when you're selling, this is a sales model. Most people try to sell people what they want and what they don't want. That's not what moves them. What really moves people is their identity and the people in their lives. So if I was selling people a financial package, I wouldn't say to them, well, what do you want? Of course, we know we want better returns. What do you not want? I don't want to be broke. It's the people in their lives. So I'd say, let me ask you a question. How are people going to see you in your family? Identity. How are the people in your family going to see you differently when you start being a very, very financial astute person that does very well financially? Or outside of you, who are the people in your life that are going to benefit most from what we're about to do? They're going to say, well, that's my wife and my kids. Well, great. Let's do this for them. So let's make the entire rest of this conversation about them. Now we're changing their want, Dave. So I gave you a piece of it, but this is what happens to people. I don't think they have scarcity. I think they live right here in their average. That's why I say average sucks all the time, is that we live inside of here, and this is our problem.
Yeah, that's really powerful. So what are some, basic recommendations you can give people to kind of change that, that path to transformation?
Number one is we need to really take check of our language. Every word that we say impacts everything that we do. This is not positive thinking. This is taking responsibility for your language and really understanding that the words that we use are influential. They're massively influential, and they change our biochemistry and what we do. So we can either work real hard, try to get out of that box, or except we're always going to be in one. Let's outgrow that one and go walk into the one we need to be in. So part of it is language. So let me ask you a question, Dave. You started your business 18 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. When is the last time, I don't know how old you are now, Dave. Are you able to tell me how old you are? I can't ask a woman that.
54.
Okay. So 54 years old, Dave. When is the last time you've talked to a 54-year-old man that's run a business for 18 years, that's got a great family, great life, and every reason to do well, that's part of incredible groups, that's got incredible friends? When is the last time that guy put a plan together for the next steps?
Pretty recently.
Very good. And that's why you're able to do it. Do you realize most people, great answer. Do you realize most people are trying to solve a problem going backwards? And what I mean by that is, I knew you were going to answer it that way, and I love it. So when I was working on writing my book, I realized I was having trouble getting it done. I wasn't having trouble. I was totally capable. I spoke all over the world. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't do it. Here's why I couldn't get it done. A 9-year-old boy that wanted to prove a point that he was good at school wanted to write the book. And a lot of us are not realizing how successful we really are in bringing us to the plate. So let's say you got someone's got like, oh, I've been in business about 5 years. Let the guy that's been in business for 5 years, that has 35 clients already, that's got a net worth of a few $1 million, it's got a house. When is that guy going to sit down and make your next plan? The problem is your plan was made by somebody years ago. And that is the challenge, which was you. Not talking about you, Dave. I'm talking about people listening.
Yeah. No, that's really a great way to look at it for sure.
And I got more stuff than that, but I'd love to just take this what direction we want to go.
Okay. Why don't we go back to number 2 then, of the 4 things that we could learn?
Yeah. So
one's communication.
One is communication. Number 2 is going to be, we're just going to call it language. And the reason we're going to call it language is 3 things we need to focus on with language is word choice, intensity of the words, and the tone we use with those words. So for instance, a lot of people get stuck places because the words they use are very intense. Words like scarcity are intense. Words like depression are intense. Words like anxiety are intense. You should use those very, very infrequently because they stop you from doing what you're doing. They're built into our mind. So our job is to start learning how to trigger ourselves with language instead of like going, I need to cold call. Have you ever heard people say they need to cold call, Dave?
Yes.
You ever had people hate cold calling?
Yes.
Why the hell do they call it cold calling? Have you ever met anyone who liked to be cold?
No.
Like seriously, have you ever met anyone who liked to be cold?
No.
Okay, so why are we calling it cold calling? Now, we don't want to call it warm calling either because that's lying. It's cold calling, right? So what if we said, why don't we go tomorrow, spend a little time getting better at communication, calling some people we don't know yet, and seeing if we can build relationships? Would that be very different?
Yeah, 100%.
But that's not how it's explained by a manager, is it?
Right.
Basically, you're saying, let's go stab ourselves in the eyeballs, right? And be miserable for a couple days, years, cold calling versus, you know what? Let's get a hold of some people that didn't know we existed. Let them know we're alive. See if we could build some relationships and see if in time we could do some business.
Yeah, that's excellent.
But because we feel that there's more value in pain because we're tough, because we're stubborn entrepreneurs, we want other people to go through the stubborn also. So that's part of it. And the other thing is, when it comes to the way that we communicate, I got other stuff, like I can take it in other areas. At the last event we were at, I explained that like a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of insecurity about us, which means that we want to make somebody else, we want to feel important to people. So we want to tell them how much we know versus why not make that other person feel incredible and feel empowered? And why don't we be confident? Why don't we be so confident that we don't need all the confidence, that we give them the confidence? Why don't we give the person we're marketing to all the confidence? Oh, you're going to be great at this. This is awesome. I'll do my best to explain it all. Anything middle you can figure out. Why don't we make them confident, and I'll stay confident by making them confident? And by empowering other people, that's where things change. So that's language, my friend.
Yeah. How about another example, let's say with something like family or health?
Well, this is one I've been sharing recently that's very, very empowering. I have a client that I was on a podcast and very successful. This guy's got 900 loan officers underneath him, this guy. And he looked at me and goes, Michael, forget this business stuff for a minute. How do I get my kid more motivated? And I said, what do you want to motivate him to do? He says, I want to motivate him to like want to do better at basketball. I take him to practice. He doesn't seem motivated. I said, does your son even know he could be good? And I paused. He goes, well, maybe. I said, well, have you ever let him know that he could be better? Because most kids don't believe their parents. They don't either believe them too much or they don't believe them enough. So I said, have you ever sat down with him and asked him, like, would you like to be better? If so, I can show you how. And I said, here's what I want you to do. And I encourage everybody to do this that's listening. Tomorrow morning, or anytime you have family or kids or a teammate, I want you to look at them, just catch them off guard, just say this. Hey, if you ever want to get better at this basketball thing or better at sales, just come to me. I got a few things I know that could work. Just come to me, not now, just come to me later. If they say, tell me now, you're going to force your confidence on them and they're going to feel insecure because they don't know something. And when someone doesn't know something, they feel insecure, even if they just asked. When they come back the next day, this guy the next day said, man, my son came back to me the next day, Michael. I don't know whether to hate you or love you. I go, what happened? He goes, I asked him if he wanted to get better. I said, come to me the next day. He did. And now I got to get him a coach. Why I'm saying this is this. We have to position things for people in a way that they could get better and also how they actually process. So have you ever seen this before, Dave? Has anyone on your team ever done a great job?
Yes.
What do you say to them when they do a great job?
Try to give them the respect that they deserve.
What does that sound like?
Right. Publicly put it out there. Awesome job. Great job, rising to the occasion and, following our, core values, cool. Right. In the company. Yeah.
So you took the two biggest chemicals in the world that are powerful, serotonin, which is the decision-making confidence muscle, and oxytocin, which is love. And you give it to them and you let them know I'm going to give this to you. And this is what most people do. Most people facilitate a relationship with our inner child. What I mean by that is the little boy and girl that want to be told good job versus the one that believes in themselves, which is the adult. Now, what I do when somebody does a great job in my family, in my life, and in my team, when you come to me and go, Michael, I closed the big deal. Michael, I did something great. I don't say, great job, Dave, because then you're like, oh, Michael likes me. I go like this. Of course you did, Dave. That's why you're on this team. And then they get the grin that you just got right there and that thing like this. You see the face, this?
Yeah.
So the reason, like my kid will say to me, Daddy, I'm so proud of myself. I got a 52 at skating. I said, of course you did. That's what you do.
Hey, it's Dave Wolcott here. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of the same old financial advice that leaves you spinning your wheels? If you're ready to discover the real secrets the ultra wealthy use to build unstoppable wealth, then I've got something just for you. My new book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy, is your ticket to learning the proven strategies that the top 1% don't want you to know. This book isn't just about money. It's about building a life of purpose, freedom, and lasting impact. And I want to give you a free copy. Visit holisticwealthstrategy.com and get yours today. It's time to level up your financial game and create the future you deserve.
And then she does that and goes, damn straight, that's what I do. I want more confident people in my life, not people that need me. If you want them to need you, if you want them to always need you and control them, tell them how great they are. If you want them to be possibly leave you and possibly be so powerful and so incredible in life that they can be independent on their own and be the best asset, the best leader you could ever have, what you do is something a little different. You say, of course you do. That's why you're on the team. It's the thing I saw in you. And you make it all about them.
Yeah, that's gold right there.
It is lightning. I look at my phone. I called my wife. The other day I'm at an event. I go, oh my God, I crushed it. It's amazing. She goes, of course you did. She didn't say, good job, honey. Of course you did. And then I get this grin.
Yeah.
She says, of course you did. I go, and she goes, good job. I go, thank you. She says, of course you did. I get, yeah.
I actually had the opportunity to see Michael's daughters and family at an event recently. And one of his daughters, how old is she, the skater?
The little one, she just turned 13. She was 12 when you met her.
13. She got up in front of a room of, almost 100 people and just kind of talked about, what she's doing in terms of, competing in figure skating and the maturity, the level of communication, like how grounded she was. I mean, it would make any parent just melt, right, to be able to have that. And it really just proves, Michael, right, that, this, verbal communication and everything, setting that in even at an early age, right, is just massive for someone. And that can just continue to grow.
Yeah, I've never told my daughter in 8 years that I'm proud of her. I learned 8 years ago not to say that anymore. I now tell her, you should be proud of yourself. And she walks around the house, goes, oh God, I'm so proud of my practice today. She knows I love her. She doesn't need me to be proud of her. So I am proud of her, right? But I don't tell her that because I want her to be proud of herself. So she recently, I wake up in the morning. I don't push this on my kids. Like we don't sit here. I live this way. I don't sit there and go, you have to read books, right?
Yeah.
And we were at a competition the other day and she got up early. She's listening to Kobe Bryant. It's all listening to Kobe videos. I'm a hockey player. She found Kobe. She's like listening in the morning before a competition. She goes, Daddy, I think I get it. I either have to identify as a skater trying to figure it out or as one that does what it needs to do to win. I said, you pick the identity then, girl. You pick.
Nice. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, that's really good. So how do you think that could apply to someone? Give us an example of how could that apply to someone who feels like maybe they're at some kind of ceiling in their life, whether it's like money, career, like relationships, something like that.
So the word ceiling is designed to cap us. So first off, we need to say, if I say, let's just say to me, this is how I'd work with you, Dave, and you hired me to work with you and I do one-on-one coaching with very high level people. You'd say, Michael, I feel like I have a ceiling. I'd say, what color is it? They say, I don't know. It's not really there. Great. Now we admit it's not there. So the second you say ceiling is the reason we say ceiling is so we can get attention from ourselves and our own insecurity and from other people. It is therapy talk. And the reason I say this, I'm so adamant. I had Ryan Moran in here the other day, capitalism.com. Do you know Ryan?
I do know Ryan. Yeah.
Ryan came in, spoke in here. We did a podcast together. He's in the building and I'm like going through this and I'm explaining this to him. He's like, man, I'm scared of what to say around you. A lot of what we say is to get attention from people. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is if you tell me you have a ceiling, the first thing I'm going to tell you is this. Number one is what color is it? And what is it made out of? And you're like, well, I don't know, Michael. It's not really there. I could just feel it. Got it. So you're feeling more stuck than you want to feel. Yeah, okay. So now we're actually having a different problem that's solvable. Just like the guy that says to me, Michael, I have anxiety. I said, I can't help you. Well, I thought you help people with anxiety. No, I only help people they have emotions they don't want to feel and shift it with other ones, but I can't help you with anxiety because you have anxiety. I can't help you. Could it possibly be that when you react a certain way, you feel the way you don't want to feel? He goes, well, yeah, it could be that. Well, if it's that, I can help you, but I can't help you with anxiety. Obviously, I'd help with anxiety, but I need to reframe it first. So the first thing I do is reframe it. Is there truly a ceiling? Well, quite possibly you could be with a company that does have a max out in your current role. Okay. Currently, the way you do things may have a limitation, correct? But there isn't a reason that you couldn't go to your employer and go, I'd like to bring more to this company. I'd like to be a bigger part of the firm. If I were to be one of without being annoying, a lot of us have the ability to walk up to people on the team and not bring them a problem. Because if you bring your people above you a problem, you're annoying. So what I would do, Dave, if you were my management or the owner, I'd say, Dave, I'm looking for a solution on something that I think would be amazing. I have more gas in my tank. I want to bring more to the company. I believe I could bring millions more to the company. How do you feel we could do that, or I could do that with you, and then it could help me grow? But a lot of people go, I'm unhappy, I'm upset, I have a ceiling. Now you ruin the relationship. You're annoying. Now, other people feel like they have a ceiling because they keep on doing the same thing. And then my whole book is about this concept called your average. Have you read it, Dave? Have you read my book?
I haven't read it yet, but I definitely want to get to that.
It is so simple because it really just explains that we have this average that controls us and we feel boxed in. But a lot of it is we set the plans for our lives a long time ago versus now. So if someone had a ceiling, that's the first thing I'd say. And give me an example of a person with a ceiling. Give me an industry or an example or
yeah, I think that's a really good one. I think people put like artificial limits on themselves in terms of like income or net worth.
It is or it has to be a certain way.
Yeah, it's like a barometer kind of for them.
I know this is going to sound silly and you're going to beat me up for saying it, but a couple of years ago, for a few years, you can get 5.6% CDs. Do you know what I'm saying? Like people are out there in the world going, I can't figure out how to make money. You could double your money every 9 years with that. Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. Like I was confused why people were thinking they couldn't make money or open up an account and just get started with something. So people do not realize that they have their income and then they need to really decide, do they want to be wealthy? I think a lot of people don't want it. I don't think a lot of people understand how it works and are they really fully committed to making it happen. So the first is, I don't think anybody really has a ceiling. I think their current plan has limits, but I think what they need to do is reevaluate that plan.
Excellent. All right, let's go to number 3.
Number 3 is patterns. Most of us have patterns, and patterns is probably our biggest challenge. So we all have a pattern of the things we do. We get up, we do the thing we do, we go about our life, we do the things we do. I don't think anybody really has any major issues. I think we have patterns. Man, I can't find good people out there. You have a pattern of finding ones that don't work. And I truly believe when we could understand patterns and people could get obsessed with what the patterns people have are, we have patterns of wealth, patterns of growth, patterns of happiness, patterns of depression. Everything is patterns. So if you ask me like, Michael, what are you good at? I'm good at patterns of language, patterns of communication. So if you take give me a challenge people come to you with, Dave, that you hear often or people say or they bring up.
Yeah, I mean, most people are really looking for, I would say, like freedom of time, right? They feel kind of handcuffed to their jobs. So they want to create passive income so that they can kind of become free to have more purpose, have more time in their life to do what they want to do.
So we have a pattern of how we currently spend our money. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Do you believe all people are investors?
Well, they should be.
I think every human being in the world is an investor, even if you don't have an account. You invest in Starbucks, you invest in Vegas, you invest in partying, you invest in things you should. We're all investing. The question is in what? So what pattern are you using? So I believe everybody's an investor. I believe everybody is creating what they're creating. So the question is, what pattern are you creating in your life? And for a lot of us, you have to look at what you're doing. If you looked at your week or your month, it's a pattern. It's an absolute, you get up about the same amount of time, you cold plunge or don't, you take your shower for the same amount of time, there's an average you have. All of us have a pattern. If you adjust one of those things, you start creating a new pattern. And in a new pattern, things start. That's why you ever like move and you feel better, Dave? Or you get a new office or get new furniture?
Yeah.
You changed your biochemistry. Your chemical composition changed in your body.
Yeah. That's why I just moved to Florida a couple of years ago.
Immediately it changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Your energy shift.
Yeah. No, Dan Sullivan likes to talk about that is basically life is like a series of habits, and those can be positive habits or they can be negative habits, right? But if you're constantly actually we've created a habit of habits, of creating habits. So every day we're trying to identify a new habit so you don't get stuck in that same pattern and you can be always growing.
Yes. And we've got to figure out the patterns or the habits that we're going to need to do the thing we need. And then people are like, I'm just going to start working out. Okay, let's stop right there. Let's really analyze that for a second. So let's talk one last thing I was going to say about language and patterns here for just a second. You ever had people that have trouble with their diet?
Yes.
And this works with money too, and you can figure out how to use this quickly. So years ago, people said, Michael, how do you lose weight? I said, you need to start talking to your food. And then they think I'm nuts. And then I say, it's like a relationship. See, everything in life is a relationship. Money is a relationship. Your relationship with money has got to be a really good, loving, caring, respectful one. You've heard that before, correct? Mm-hmm. Your relationship with food has got to be a good one. So if you're going to put it inside of you for the next 20 years, the food and your cells, you might as well find out a few things. What its name is, what its intentions are, and how it actually makes you feel. Think about that for a second. So years ago, I started teaching this to people. I said, all food is this three things: nutrition, entertainment, or addiction. That's it. You eat a salad, your steak or whatever, not a bunch of garbage on it, nutrition. You go out to eat, automatically, if you let them make it for you, it's entertainment. Let's get real. You have the dessert, it's more of an addictive behavior. A couple Doritos, entertainment, eat the whole bag, this. So imagine before you did something, you'd say to yourself, got it, I'm about to have some entertainment. And you were honest with yourself. Or you're about to drink. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to make myself more comfortable today, but feel worse tomorrow. I promise you, you're not going to want to drink the third or fourth, fifth drink. You might think you are, but you're being honest with yourself. Hangovers were put there because you were a moron last night, not for something you to be. I mean, that's why they were put there. Hangovers are the body's way of saying, don't be dumb. Okay. They're not designed for us to figure out, I'm going to drink more water and have some Rolaids or whatever it is, and I'm going to figure this out. No, that's what they're designed for. So why I'm bringing this up is when you do that for long enough time, I remember doing this with my daughter at my little one. When she was 7, we played this little game, and we were at Disney, and Disney was entertainment addiction. By like the third night, my daughter goes, can we order a salad? I feel like I need something healthy. The reason is if you know what you're doing and how it feels, you'll actually do something about it. So here's the deal. Admit to yourself, I don't like to work out, and I don't want to do it. Just say it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Just admit it. I don't like working out. Just admit it. But here's what I do. I do like being healthy. And I do like having more energy. So what I'm going to do is a couple things to do that. So I'm only going to exercise one day this week. That's it. So all I'm going to do is one day. Now, what's crazy is when you tell someone they can only do one day, they'll want to do 10. But I'm going to tell you only do one day. And the reason is we're building what's called a new pattern. What most people don't recognize is, I've taught people how to get wealthy this way, is go take from one account to another, go transfer $100 a week automatically from one account to another. Just do it. Then when you cancel the NFL package, take $85 and transfer that. We're so lazy as people. If you have 95 transfers going, you're going to not be able to close them all down. I've been doing that for years. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in little $25 and $12 transfers moved into account they eventually invest in. So I'm telling you that because as silly as that is, we need to find an approach that works with us. Human beings will typically do less than they're asked to do, and we will always procrastinate. So you might as well tell yourself, I'm only going to do one day this week. That's it. All I'm going to do. And next week I'll do one day. By the third week, you're going to wish you could do 3 days, but only do one. Eventually I'll let you do 2. And what's fascinating about it is you're building a new habit, a new pattern.
Right. Love it. How about number 4?
Well, number 4 is simple. And this is the state. Our number one value in our company is called State First, is really to check what state of mind we're in. Most people are in a very insecure emotional state when we decide that we need to change. We're usually pissed off, bothered, or we're usually upset. And then all we want to do is think anything better than we're currently at. The first thing we need to figure out is what state of mind are we in currently when we're about to do the things we do. So people say to me, Michael, what do I say when I get on the phone? Wrong question. Better question is what state of mind am I in and what am I saying to myself currently before I even pick up the phone? So most of us have to do what's called a state check, like a fly check, checking your fly if you go on stage. We've got to first say, what state of mind am I in? I'm pissed off and I'm bothered. Good. Then you're not allowed to set any goals because you're going to set the wrong ones.
Yeah.
How many times have we done that?
Oh, yeah.
God, I can't stand this person. I'm just going to do this. You shouldn't be making any decisions that way. So it's really about the management of state and also understanding the state of another person. So if we're selling, what state of mind is the other person in? I worked with mortgage people for years. I always told them that you realize that person is uncomfortable, annoyed, and frustrated. They don't, even if they want that house, you're annoying to them. You're frustrating. You're making them reveal their finances. Even when in the financial planning world, when somebody wants somebody to send us all your paperwork, transfer us your IRAs, like it is vulnerability. Like it is scary to this other person. So the first thing we've got to do is make them comfortable. And we got to look at them and just say, hey, listen, before we even get into any paperwork or anything, I just want to commend you for setting up this meeting. A lot of people talk about changing their finances. It is not easy what you're doing, and I just want to commend you. Be proud of yourself, my friend. Now they feel good, and now we can talk. We've changed their state.
Yeah, that's really so good. I think one of the things I do, right, in terms of my morning routine, I don't like getting in the cold plunge, but I know it's good for me. So, I exercise, I do breath work, meditate, and I do all of that before I actually start journaling. So I put myself into a peak state. Yep. And then when I'm journaling, everything that comes down on paper is just, me in a peak state, very aspirational, right? And that's kind of the ideal setup.
That's beautiful. I love how you do that in that order. That's a pattern that works.
Yeah.
What if you were to say this to yourself? I actually love cold plunging and I'm working on getting used to it.
Yeah, no, it is true. Now I don't even think about it. It's become a pattern, so I don't really think about it. I just get in every day and just hit it. So
how many minutes are you doing right now?
I usually do about 3, sometimes 5. One thing I've learned that's interesting about that is depending on the level. So I do a lot of high intensity cycling. Great. So sometimes it's actually not that good to throw stress on top of stress. You need more recovery time. So I may sometimes tone it down, or not every day. Like if I, have a really hard ride type of thing.
So do you do right after the hard run?
I mean, usually, but I'm trying to change, like Sunday we do this. It's a 50-mile basically like race with a bunch of A guys, a lot of testosterone, going crazy out there, and, get my heart rate up to 190, about 2.5 hour ride. So sometimes it's really not advisable, I think, to actually jump in right then, because then my body, I can't bring my heart rate and my HRV, get my HRV back up, during the course of the day after that. So
do you listen to something while you're in there? And the reason I'm asking is I started listening to I'll listen to like CT Fletcher or someone saying, you got to go for what you want. And then the 3 minutes flies by from me.
I don't care. Look, I was in the Marine Corps, Michael. So
Devil dog.
Yeah, I've done a lot of hardcore stuff. So I just turn on my, watch and just go.
That's awesome. Yeah, 3 minutes, it seems like nothing now at the 40 degrees that I do.
Yeah, so the hardest part is the first minute. Once you get in, and then you get used to it after that.
Yeah, I do. My pattern is, I've noticed that in my pattern, I'll just like make very quickly, pick up the water, back of my neck, face, and then I go down. And then I realize if I do that, it's easy.
Yeah, nice. Okay, did we get to 4?
I think we covered everything. Number 1's communication. We've got to work on that. It's crazy because there's so many directions we can go with this. Language, really checking your language of everything, what patterns we have and what state of mind you're in and what state of mind they're in. And the coolest part about it is It's the same with everybody. The language somebody uses, the state they're in, the patterns they use, the way they communicate with themselves. It's really only 4 things. That's everything in life comes down to those 4 things. I can't think of anything else I'd need to change.
Yeah, no, really love that. Why don't we just touch on really quick your book, Average Sucks, and talk to us about what does average sucks really mean to you? What is that kind of construct? How can we think about that?
It's funny. It's really good from a marketing perspective. We own the brand. So I own the brand. I own the word. You can't even say it. I had even to have a conversation with some very well-to people have told me you can't say that anymore. So I own Average Sucks, which is great. And it's really cool because it does 2 things. It gets a group of people that goes, yes, I get it. Be better than everyone else. Don't be average. It's not at all what it means. What it really means is we have an average in life, which you could call your ceiling. You can call your standard. You can call your box. You can call your plateau, thermometer, whatever it is. We all have an average in life. That is our middle ground that we really do. Most people talk about their worst day and their best day. Our life is controlled by our average day. We do more in our average investing portfolio is bigger than our big chunk. Okay. Our average slot machines bring more to the casino because it's going all day long, right? So it's our average that controls what we do. And it's your average it's about that sucks. And every one of us has one if we're willing to accept it. Once we adjust what our average is, it's our unconscious go-to. So we change our unconscious go-to. And when we do that, and we learn that we have an average and how to actually control it, it's that feeling you get. Like my whole book is, when I wrote it, did you know Tucker Max when he was with our group?
I do. Yeah, I know Tucker well. Yeah.
Tucker's a great friend. I sat on his couch, his publishing company worked on our book, and he helped me with it. Very good friends. And he goes, you got 2 types of books you can write, Michael. One that makes you feel important, or one people will actually read. So I wrote it to be read. And it's really a story of how I spent my life believing, and you got a lot of this over this probably in the Marines, of believing I couldn't do things. Play hockey. I'm still 47. I still play hockey. But from, I would say 10 to 39 years old, I believed I couldn't score goals. I could shoot. I got a hard shot. I could hit. I could do all stuff. And I left that up to other people. And then one day I go, why am I doing this? And I still play with very advanced players. I'm a pretty talented player myself. And now I get 1 or 2 goals every single game that I play. And the reason why is I had no idea that I had invented a person, or I invented an average that I would do everything in my power and convince everyone in my life to remind me that that's not what I do. So the book is really about, I guess what you'd say, breaking out of the ceiling you have.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that anymore.
Well, no, I can say it now. Now that you said it, I'll say it. Yeah. You don't have a ceiling, Dave. Other people might say they have one. We'll break them from it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has really been amazing, Michael. I can't thank you enough for all the wisdom coming in here today. If you could give just one piece of advice to the audience about how they could change their communication skills, really up-level their life, what would it be?
I'd say the first thing is really accept the power of your own influence. You're a very influential person. I want everyone to listen to going, you're very influential. The question is, what are you influencing people to do? So if you're overweight, you're influencing people to be overweight. If you're not making a lot of money, you're influencing people to not make a lot of money. Or if you are doing very well. So I would say number 1 is really accept the power of your own influence and realize, got it, I am influential. And number 2 is ask yourself, is that enough? And if you want to change that, you can ask yourself, what do I want to influence people to do? You don't even have to influence people with your words. You influence people by the way that you live. So instead of getting frustrated by that, really think about that. That would be one really big piece of advice that changed my life. It got me to stop drinking in 2016. I didn't have a problem, but I stopped completely because I realized, wait a second, I'm giving other people permission to do that. I don't want to be involved. I'm influential. So I'm just going to let every one of you accept you are so powerful. You are so influential. That feeling you have inside is real. Accept it and use it.
Love it. No, really, really fantastic. I'd like to encourage the audience out there to definitely check out a copy of Michael's book, Average Sucks. And please do him a favor and actually give a review on Amazon. I can't tell you how much this really helps other people really discover, the book, understand kind of what's in it for them, right? And how they can apply it to their lives. And so it would mean a lot to Michael to be able to do that. So appreciate you guys for that. And then if people want to, learn more about the Human Communications Institute, the different trainings and offerings you guys have, or, follow you on social, what's the best place?
I'm all over social. Definitely check us out on Instagram. Definitely check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. Instagram is, I guess, the spot everybody's at now. So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Michael Bernoff. You can see the spelling right there, Bernoff. You can find me pretty easily. And then I started doing this thing a little bit ago. Like, there are some people, Dave, that are listening that are like very serious people. And then there's people that are like, yeah, kind of see what this guy's got and I'll test it out, put the money in the water. So a couple of years ago, I started doing something. If you're serious and you want to reach out, I'd love to just make that easy. So you could just send a text message to 202, kind of sounds like the government, but 202-759-4210. I'll give it to you one more time. It's 202-759-4210. You can either text us, say hello, I want to talk to Michael about courses, or just text the word influence by itself. And I'm going to send you 3 or 4 really cool videos that are like a minute long on how to use influence. So Dave, you'll love these too. So 202-759-4210, text the word influence with nothing else. And then it'll give you a couple prompts that'll take over. And if you're like, hey, Michael, I want to know more, take a class, coaching, whatever, just ask that. And a real human runs this. Okay. Like, there's real people in my company. It's not AI.
Yeah. Excellent. We'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. And the other thing for listeners out there too, if you wanted to check out the diagram Michael was talking about, don't forget, you can check this out on YouTube. So you can see the full visuals during the conversation as well. But we'll provide all the notes. We'll have an article to this and a whole link back on our site as well. But want to thank everyone out there for listening. Hope you are well, and we want to empower you, right, to live a better life. So thanks again for your time and insights, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, and I really appreciate the courage and the confidence that people have in you and what we're doing here that are listening. Very special, a person that would listen to something like this. Very rare. I mean, you and I don't understand that because this is us, but it's very rare. They should feel very wonderful.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Wealth Strategy Secrets. If you'd like to get a free copy of the book, go to holisticwealthstrategy.com. That's holisticwealthstrategy.com. If you'd like to learn more about upcoming opportunities at Pantheon, please visit pantheoninvest.com. That's pantheoninvest.com.